Hello, today I have a message called Choose Miracles. Okay, so short version. Miracles or murder is a choice given to you through A Course in Miracles, and it is a helpful one. At any choice point, you do not have to make a specific decision from ego. You can decide for miracles, wait, and then see what decision gets made through you. Choose miracles before you know what your decision is, and then find out what your decision is. When you find yourself in the tension of trying to figure something out, choose miracles and rest. Miracles can always make your path clear, obvious, and easy to follow. Okay, so back to miracles or murder is a choice given to you through A Course in Miracles, and it is a helpful one. So that's every point I see is a decision point, or it's a decision point every time I notice I feel disturbed in any way, because I feel disturbed because I've chosen murder. So whenever I feel the least disturbance, I feel disturbed because I've chosen murder. What does that mean? I've chosen a body focus. So the world of time and space that I made up, and any I can say this, the first I to forgive the seeming making of this world of time and space entirely wakes up all the eyes. We're just one eye. So any I can say this. So I made the world for bodies to rule, for bodies to believe that they are in charge of their separate existence. And I also made the world for the killing of bodies to end that existence. So to start an existence and end an existence in a bodily form. So the world's pretty much about killing bodies. So the world I made, not what actually exists, but the world I made was made for murder. And when I feel disturbed in the least tiny little bit, I have chosen murder instead of miracles. I've chosen to believe that time and space is real. I've chosen a body-oriented focus, thinking that we are separate bodies, being in charge of separate things, and choosing to perceive in that way, choosing to see possible conflicts between and amongst us instead of the one self we share. So that's why any I can say this, because there's just the one. There's just the one of us. So miracles or murder is a choice given to you through A Course in Miracles, and it is a helpful one. So I can always choose miracles, but it takes noticing when I don't feel good. When I have chosen murder, I'm not going to feel good. And so what I work on is the consistent choice for miracles, and that involves more waiting and less jumping in, more hold on a minute. I've chosen murder and I can feel it, so now I need to stop, and now I need to focus on the miracle, that which can come in and change my perception, that which is the answer to any perceived problem. I just need to take a beat to reorient toward miracles and to allow that to run everything, because this is the time when we wake up to everyone's miracle working capability. Everybody has this capability. And this is the time when we really and truly allow miracles to come in and solve every perceived problem. What better time than now, when it seems very easy to perceive a problem, and a quite big problem. This is a good time for that. It's always a good time for the miracle. Okay. At any choice point, I think I want to go back and say, and to look at anyone as someone who can allow miracles, even if they if they never utter the word miracle, if they've never read and never will read A Course in Miracles. Everyone has performed miracles. Everyone has refocused toward what they are, because what we are is the most natural part of us, and it is us. What we are is us, and everyone has allowed what we are together to take over and change perception. We may not have been aware of it. It may not have been overt, like a distinct physical change, but still everyone has worked miracles. We just have not realized what this ability is, and have not realized that it's appropriate to use it 100% of the time. So that's important to see. No one has to understand in terms of concepts what a miracle is, or even use the label miracle. It's a very natural function all of us have. All of us have. So the biggest favor I could do to anybody is not try to get them to read A Course in Miracles unless that happens very naturally and it's part of my guidance. It is to understand that they have that miracle working capability and they use it. And as more of us rely upon it, it becomes the more obvious choice for all of us. When we go in, we understand we need to make a choice. When we go in, miracles, instead of murder, instead of the body-oriented focus, instead of the idea of independent ones making independent decisions, instead of that, the miracles that come from the harmony of us take over because they become very obvious to us as options. And so no one has to take this particular path, but as we allow our miracle working capability to take over, we see it everywhere. We see it in everyone and everything. Okay. At any choice point, you do not have to make a specific decision from ego. You can decide for miracles, wait, and then see what decision gets made through you. So that's a helpful way for me to look at this, decisions getting made through me, because then I don't think of in terms of the body or in terms of the individual identity. There's something much greater than what ego would call me, and decisions can get made through the seeming one, separate one of me, only seeming that way, by what unites all of us. So to see that kind of whooshing through each one of us, decisions can get made by the harmony of us, decisions can get made by love, and those decisions can direct everything and everyone at any time even. It spreads out throughout what we perceive as time. Okay, at any choice point, you do not have to make a specific decision from ego. You can decide for miracles, wait, and then see what decision gets made through you. So, what's interesting, the idea of physical discomfort or physical pain comes up, and that's just a signal to me, hey, you have been deciding from what you perceive to be your separate self, but the decision can come kind of, from behind you, from this more expansive place where you're joined with everything. And ego's going to rear up and say, oh, absolutely not. I'm not going to be happy if the decisions come from back there, from where we're all unified. I am not going to be happy, and I have to be happy. But if you then realize that this voice saying I have to be happy is also that which causes the experience of physical discomfort and the experience of physical pain, then you drop that. Because, whatever is causing it, I don't want that to be in charge. Whatever can take the body, I call mine, over, and also the bodies of, in my perception, whoever I call else or other. Whatever can bring those together in harmony and wake us all up and take away all suffering and pain for everyone, that's what I want to put in charge. That is my happiness, not something from time or space. So if I keep myself at the level where I believe I can decide for myself in time and space and bring pleasures and satisfying things to myself and kind of fight against unsatisfying or unhappy things coming toward me, that sense of separate self-control, if I keep myself there, then I'm also keeping myself at the level where I've chosen to experience physical pain and discomfort. So I might want to leave that now. I might see a very clear reason to leave that and to rely on what's unifying, harmonizing, and what I actually am, not what I pretend I am, which is this exact same thing as what you actually are. It's just the one thing, and allow that to run everything. Okay, choose miracles before you know what your decision is, and then find out what your decision is. So if it seems like I'm at a decision point, I can pause. That is very quick to decide miracles. Okay, I want miracles instead of murder. I want my true joined and harmonic self instead of this sense of separate self. That's gonna die. That's the one that's gonna die. Jump on the boat with the living, not the dead. Okay, so we made that choice, and then see what seems calm, straightforward, and obvious from there. It should not be a struggle. Miracles are involuntary. If there's an action aspect of the miracle that seems to be a physical action, it's involuntary. It isn't planned out with a sense of self-consciousness. It isn't carried out with any sense of nervousness or trepidation. It just happens of itself. And the more and more we can let that through, there's kind of it happening of itself that comes from ego that doesn't feel great. And the happening of itself that comes from our true self, that's what we want to open the door to. So choose miracles before you know what your decision is, and then find out what your decision is. That's why I'm not capable of judging any separate thing I perceive in this world. I don't know what Spirit's going to want to do with this character. I don't know what's going to come through me. But when my faith and trust in Spirit and what we all are together, in our teacher that leads us through and out of this illusion, when those deepen, I know I can't judge anything in the world positively or negatively in comparison to another thing, because that's going to be the choice point from which I, as a separately perceived I try to make decisions for my separate self. And I know I'm still engaged in that because I can feel emotional and physical discomfort. But I can lean more in the direction of taking this pause and reminding myself, I want to decide, I want to choose miracles, not murder. And then wait and see what comes. See what's obvious. See where I'm led. So just providing a little space for that and reminding ourselves, we don't want the old way. We want, well, it's actually our original way. It's what we are. We want ourselves as we've been created. We want to return home. Okay. When you find yourself in the tension of trying to figure something out, choose miracles and rest. So I will catch myself doing this. I'm trying to plan, to make something happen, and to figure something out. And when I catch myself in the middle of that, I have to stop. And one way I can think of it is, okay, I've been engaged in murder, the body orientation. I've been engaged in this story where the body's born and dies. And I'm trying to control this story where the body's born and dies, and that's the most important thing, and the pleasures of the body are the most important thing, and fending off the other bodies or attracting them to you is the most important thing. I've been engaged in this level of thinking, ego thinking, and I don't have to be. That's optional. So I can stop, snap out of it, wake up, choose miracles, and understand I don't know anything about anything in this space. In the ego space, I think I know things about lots of things. And my knowing things about lots of things is for protection. And I might think of it as protection of myself and protection of others. But Spirit can use anything I think I know about time and space in the service of peace. And ego will always use everything I think I know about time and space in the service of chaos. So that's another way to think of the decision. I'm always choosing between peace and chaos. And when I get smarter about it, I slow down and stop and choose for peace more consistently. Am I going to know what that choice for peace is going to look like? Not at all. I'm not going to know. That's why I have to receive instruction. And as I practice pausing to receive instruction, it becomes clear instruction does come. Something comes into the mind that I can follow. But the practicing is necessary. Okay, let's see. When you find yourself in the tension of trying to figure something out, choose miracles and rest. It'll often be shown to me this way. Sometimes I'll think it's someone else. I'll look at someone else out there and I'll say, look, they're in the tension of trying to figure something out. And in that moment, I'm projecting. I'm seeing a body engaged in a thing, and I'm analyzing the thing. And what I'm totally ignoring is the spirit, which is what I am. What they are is what I am, and we're connected all the time, and spirit is just spirit. And when I stop to recognize that, then something can extend from where we're joined and give us both thoughts that are in alignment with miracles. So I want to be focused on that place where I'm joined with everybody that you could say is prior to or beyond bodies. It's not about what the body seems to be doing. It's not about that at all. Look at them in their pure state, and then I am where I am in my pure state, and that's where information can be delivered to me that's helpful, and to them, because our minds are connected. So the miracle might look like the receiving of thought in what appear to be both minds, even though it's just one mind, and maybe nothing physical seems to happen at all, but just the willingness to rest in the place where helpful thought can be delivered to everyone. Think of that. If you rest in this place for just a moment, helpful thought can be delivered to everyone across time and space, then it's definitely worth resting here. Something I've been told a lot is that our whole concept of what history is or was gets changed. So imagine if you're not able to look backward and see tragedy, because all of that has been healed because you let your mind heal. That's how far it goes. That's how far it goes. Okay. But we have to let go of our very tight grip of what we think happened. I'll orient myself in time and space by recording what happened in the past and insisting that's what happened, and insisting I know what happened and I know what it means and I know what significance it has. We actually don't know, because all of it is an illusion. It's an illusion. All of it is equally meaningless. But we hold on to scraps of this illusion, and then we claim meaning for them. We try to remember and repeat these meanings, and that's how we lock ourselves in and limit ourselves in this chaos. But once we see what we're doing, we naturally drop all of that. Our tight little fists that are holding on to history, we drop all of that. We let it go. We know we don't know what anything means, what anything is for, but we can be told what we need to know as we go along. Okay. Miracles can always make your path clear, obvious, and easy to follow. So that's all you really need today, just a clear path. That's very easy to follow. It's easy to follow because Spirit does whatever needs doing through us, because Spirit is us. So we're not carrying around this heavy and limiting sense of a false sense of self that has to struggle and strain to try to do, to try to outperform, to try to succeed, to try to meet its goals that it seemed to select for itself by itself. All of that can fall away. Miracles can always make your path clear, obvious, and easy to follow. Always choosing between miracles and murder. When we choose miracles, we're helping to make that choice obvious to everyone we call else across time and space. So Ezekiel in 1748, wherever he thought he was, is, right, if you think of time as simultaneous. When I choose miracles instead of murder today, I'm making the choice for miracles more obvious to him in his moment too. What affects one of us affects all of us. And that seems too big for an ego to contemplate. But when you see it from the perspective that there is only one of us, and time is simultaneous, then time's no barrier to all of this healing. And I had no idea this historical component was going to come in. That's interesting. And it's been shown to me before, but it's always interesting when it comes up. And then we won't insist that history was a certain way and use that for the springboard of this is why I have to make a decision from ego now, because I fear what happened in the past and I have to try to avoid that happening again. I'm actually limiting myself. Instead of, if you think of what we think happened, we think that we separated from God. That's really what we're concerned about. That's really the historical event we're concerned about. And to keep us locked into the separation from God, ego will tell us, you have to remember history. You have to remember that you've been very bad. You've done very bad things. Now, from the ego's perspective, it's going to tell you these people in this historical past have done very bad things, and you'll blame them. But you might also remember yourself in this lifetime and say, I have done very bad things, and you'll blame yourself. It doesn't matter who you're blaming as long as you blame someone. For ego, that works. As long as you're blaming somebody, but it's going to try to project the blame outward because it's very painful to blame oneself. So blaming oneself, which we do, that's what all our bad feelings are about. Feeling bad that we seem to have separated from God, but we didn't, because this isn't real. This is an illusion. So we understand eventually we don't have to feel bad about an illusion. We just have to allow ourselves to be carried home. And what carries us home is not this sense of separate self, a separate identity, that's the things it has to struggle in, within, confined by, limited to, sentenced to a world of time and space, and that the only happiness it can get is from this illusion. You can't get happiness from an illusion, and that's why some of us feel so hopeless sometimes, and that's part of the journey, is to, there's no hope in time and space. It wasn't designed for that. It was designed to kill a body and to prove that death is real. You cannot get hope in this place. You can have hope shine into it. And hope shines into this illusion because light shines the darkness away. But it's not coming from our illusion. Our illusion is what's covering up the light. The light of hope comes from outside our illusion, or maybe bursts out from within it. I don't know how to describe it physically, but it's important to have a separation there. Even though there's no separation, it's important to distinguish between what is illusion and what is truth. And the light of hope is the light of truth, and it does not come from my illusion. So I have to allow that light of hope to come in and be in charge of everything, and to recognize that it's equally within the being. We'll forget about the bodies, the being of everyone across time and space. And when I focus on this light and let it make all the decisions and let it be in charge, then it's very easy for me to see that light in you as the most prominent thing about you. And any time and space thing about you or anybody else is meaningless and insignificant next to the power and the beauty and the love of this light. So we can put our focus there today. That's what I'll be practicing, putting my focus on this light, choosing miracles, setting the choice for murder down, because I know that's insane. And that means any ego choice, setting that down and choosing miracles. Okay. Thank you. Happy healing.